Birmingham City are on the rise again. This next transfer window, the summer transfer window in the Championship, could be absolutely crazy for them. And Birmingham fans have got big expectations going into next season and really thinking they can go on and have a great season in the Championship after their record-breaking 108-point League One season with still one game to play, already breaking the EFL record, which was previously held by Reading with 106 points. Just before we get into it as well, if you wouldn't mind taking 1 second out to subscribe to the channel, it takes 1 second, it really would mean a lot to me. We're closing in 100 subscribers, so if you wouldn't mind hitting subscribe, as I say, if you like EFL content, if you're a Birmingham fan, hit follow on the page and hit subscribe. It'll be very greatly appreciated. It does take 1 second and it would really mean a lot to me. So we've got started back at last season where, of course, Birmingham did get relegated from the Championship, which was a big surprise when they had John Eustace in charge. They were actually sat in a playoff position. They decided to sack him and they appointed Wayne Rooney, and that was where things all went wrong for Birmingham last season. A relegation, though, wasn't really the worst thing when you look at things now and how they're coming back into the Championship with a new kind of momentum now and a different energy around Birmingham City. They were kind of rotting away in the Championship for years on years, and a relegation, as I say, might have been the best thing that could have happened to Birmingham City. But as I say, there's no denying that last season was an absolute disaster. They actually did alright towards the end of the season, but they managed to pick up a win on the last game of the season. But it was just a shame that every other team in that relegation battle actually picked up a win as well. So they ended up going down on 50 points. So I'd say it's a high points total to end up getting relegated. But the Championship there was a lot of teams that were all competing at the bottom of the league and all getting wins and all kept picking up points, and Birmingham eventually just couldn't do the job to keep them up in the Championship. And then that takes them to League One, where they absolutely splashed the cash. Of course, as we know, last season or at the start of this season, the financial restrictions in League One are nowhere near as what they are in the Championship. So Birmingham, of course, used this to their advantage and absolutely fair play to them. Of course, they got a lot of money now under the new ownership, which of course has caused a lot of controversy, especially with that signing of Jay Stansfield. The big money move, they signed him for about £17 million, potentially I think even rising to £20 million. He's done well over the course of the season, but it was one that was very, very controversial in terms of, it's a record-breaking League One transfer by about £13 million, and the other two records are in fact held by Birmingham as well. So they absolutely splashed the cash in League One, but as I say, they wouldn't have been able to do this in the Championship due to FFP and the rules there. With them being in League One, it's allowed them to spend a bit more money, a lot more money, and really try and bolster that squad and build pretty much what was already a borderline good enough Championship team last season in terms of the core of the squad. It was a decent squad, and it definitely shouldn't have got relegated from the Championship. They managed to build on that squad, sign some very decent players. Looking at, of course, Jay Stansfield, klarer as well has been unbelievable at the back. Williamson as well. They splashed a lot of cash, and then you look at iwata as well, who they've only signed for £1 million as well. It's been some crazy business from Birmingham, and there's no doubt it's absolutely succeeded, just judging on how their league position did finish up in the end of the season, breaking the League One points record, and spending 30 million is absolutely crazy. But as I say, it was worth it for League One. They're not going to be able to do that they're not going to be able to repeat that to the same level in the Championship, of course, unless they really want to go out and try and get the back-to-back promotions. But as I say, a great transfer window there. And as I say, this season's been an absolute breeze for Birmingham in League One. A lot of people saying they would be in it for a surprise. A lot of League One fans saying that they reckon that Birmingham won't be able to do as well as what they were expecting. They have absolutely blown everybody out of the water. When you look at the goals per match, Birmingham are number one in the division. 1.8 goals per match. Now, a criticism that's come of Birmingham over the course of the season, which obviously can't be a lot criticised in terms of the way they've been on the field and the way that they've played, is the main criticism is that they haven't scored enough goals in terms of blowing teams away and really putting teams to the sword. But they managed to just get through games and keep picking up win after win pretty much. 1.8 goals per game is still better than anybody else in the division. Stockport and Wycombe both having 1.5. So the strongest side going forward in terms of goals per match in the division. And there's goals conceded per match as well. They also have the best record for goals conceded per match. Just 0.7 goals conceded per match. So a ridiculously strong defence, I say. The signing of klarer at the back's been absolutely fantastic, especially. And as well as that, the goals going forward as well. They've managed to spread the goals out pretty well. You're looking at Alfie May, who scored a lot of goals. We'll talk about him in a second. Jay Stansfield as well, of course, has chipped in with goals. Of course, the record signing in League One. Average possession, that is absolutely crazy. You can see right there. Birmingham having 66.8% average possession, of course, under Chris Davis, have been absolutely fantastic, and they've got a clear kind of identity now, which they didn't really have in the Championship at any point when they've been in there in recent years. And now they've got a clear identity and a way they want to play under Chris Davis at Birmingham. 66%, that is 10% more than the second team in the division, being Bolton on 56%. So, unbelievable. I mean, you're not going to concede many goals when you've got the ball. You've got that much of the ball. Then you look at the clean sheets as well, second for clean sheets. Fair play to Wrexham, they've been excellent defensively as well. Birmingham, 22 clean sheets this season is an absolute joke. And unexpected goals, they're leading the way. Big chances as well, they're leading the way. Big chances missed as well. They're leading the way on pretty much all of these things. And 13 penalties awarded is definitely something we do need to discuss. And look at the top scorers. I mean, Jay Stansfield, player that if you watch my TikTok, I've criticised quite a bit on Jay Stansfield with his penalty goals. He has scored a lot of penalty goals. Of course, he's won a lot of penalties as well for Birmingham over the course of the season. He's a player that, in League One, I do think overall has struggled. When you look at the price tag of £17 million, you're expecting absolute fireworks. So this guy was a player that was very good in the Championship, scored double-figure goals, I believe, in the Championship last season, and you're really expecting him to kick on in League One, of course, and get a lot of goals. Now, as you expect, we saw Birmingham have 66% possession earlier on. The teams that are playing against Birmingham in League One, the vast majority, or pretty much every single team, you could say, have pretty much parked the bus against Birmingham. And of course, for a player like Jay Stansfield, he wants to be running in behind, he likes to have space in behind. It's definitely, I mean, it's a criticism to him in the fact that he has only scored 10 goals from open play. But at the same time, I do believe that he would suit the Championship football better in Birmingham. They're going to be they're not going to be having 66% possession in the Championship next season. Let's be honest, it's going to be a lot tougher for them. There's going to be a lot more stronger teams in the Championship. The Championship is a big leap between there and League One. Even though every single team from League One recently has pretty much been staying up in the Championship, but you look at the top teams in the Championship. The Leeds this season, the Burnleys. You're never going to get 66% possession against them, and these top teams that are coming down like Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton. You're not going to get them kind of games that you're getting with Jay Stansfield. It's a completely different ball game in the Championship, which, as I say, I think for a player like Jay Stansfield will definitely suit him a lot. He's definitely had the pressure of the course of the season as well. A lot of people on his back, including myself, of course, and a lot of people always bring up that price tag and always bring up the kind of that's the main thing that kind of Jay Stansfield gets thrown at him. But I do think in the Championship he will answer a lot of critics, and I do think he'll do a lot better in the Championship next season. Of course, Alfie May as well, when you think about it, he's only scored 1 penalty this season. He's scored 15 goals from open play. He's been very impressive, and especially towards the back end of the season, done very well as well. And look at the starts that he's had as well. Only 27 starts over the course of the season. His minutes per goal has actually been very, very impressive. And fair play, he has been absolutely excellent in this season for Birmingham, and a really good signing. Which he's a player that really does deserve this step up to the Championship. Obviously, he's been a player that's done very well in the lower leagues in his past. He's a player that's scored goals pretty much everywhere he's been in the Football League. So it's great for him to now get his opportunity at 31 years old now to get his opportunity in the Championship and potentially do very well there. And you just look at them, they've absolutely blown the division away. 108 points is no joke at all. And look at that, just 3 losses over the course of the season. Evidently too good. Now the real test is in the Championship. How are they going to get on? What are the signings going to be like? How do I think they're going to perform in the Championship next season? Now, you look at Birmingham's overall squad. They've got such a good squad. At League One level, it's an absolute joke. Now, one thing that you can say when you just look at the kind of how they've done and you just look at their starting 11 here, I do think they need a different kind of player out wide. Now, they're looking at Poku of Peterborough, looking at maybe paying big wages on him. Of course, a player that's done incredibly well for Peterborough and still only, I think, 23 years old. Got such a bright future ahead of him. And as I say, is really impressed in League One. And a lot of Championship clubs are already looking at him with his contract being up in the summer, so you can get him for a very cheap deal. I believe they'd have to pay some compensation to Peterborough, but it'll be a very good signing, and you're looking at getting it done on the cheap. His wages definitely won't be the cheap when you look at what Birmingham are looking at paying, around £30,000 a rumour for Poku. But you need a winger that's kind of dynamic, who can chip in with quite a lot of goals, which Poku's done in League One. I have no doubt he'll be able to make the step up. That's the kind of signing that Birmingham definitely need to be making, because they've got Anderson, they've got Dowell, but these are, the Championship and League One. There's a big difference in this kind of quality. No doubt these players will do well for Birmingham next season. They'll still be decent enough players, but they definitely need to upgrade and strengthen in that area, in my opinion. So I think a winger is something that would really benefit Birmingham going forward next season. Something that they're definitely going to be addressing next season. They have serious ambitions to really, I guess, maybe try and make a playoff push next season. Now, they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves, because, of course, it's happened in the past and they've ended up getting relegated, of course, when they had kind of big ambitions. And then you look at it now, you're going to have big ambitions this season, but things can very well go wrong in the Championship. There's a lot of strong teams in the Championship, and as I say, it's not going to be an absolute walk in the park, in my opinion, as to say, Ipswich got that back-to-back promotions. I couldn't quite see Birmingham going that far, in my opinion, but I can definitely see them having a very strong season, consolidating back in the Championship. And as I say, I don't think they'll be messing about in the transfer market. I am looking forward to seeing what they're kind of going to be going after, what kind of players they're going to be going after, how much money they're going to actually be spending in the Championship, and see how much risk they're going to take when they get there. And you're looking at the Championship, I mean, there's a big gap in terms of the teams at the top between the teams in the middle. I do really think from kind of like Sunderland downwards, I mean, even Sunderland's form recently, you look at the teams in the Championship, And I really don't think there's a lot between them in terms of ability. You look at the relegation zone, you got Hull in 22nd on 48 points. Sheffield Wednesday just 9 points clear of them. It's not a massive amount of difference, just a few games between each team. And there's a lot of teams in there that they're all okay teams. They're not absolutely terrible teams. Because you look at the teams that are going to be getting relegated this season. Obviously, Plymouth and Cardiff are already down. You expect them to do very well in League One, both of them, especially if Plymouth keep Mira Muslich. And then you've got these other teams going down. And I have no doubt whoever finishes 22nd, whoever goes on to finish 22nd, I have no doubt whatever team it is will come straight back up to the Championship. And as I say, there's a lot of teams that are very average in the Championship. There's not a lot between these teams in terms of ability. And then there's a big jump up to the top. The gap at the top, and you look between the top 3 teams and then the rest of the division, I do think the gap is absolutely massive. So to then get a back-to-back promotion, it'll be very, very difficult. But I do think Birmingham will have a very solid season in the Championship. I think they'll spend money, and I think they've already got a core of squad, and the core of their squad is already well good enough for Championship. You're looking at that squad now, I really do think that's a mid-table Championship team / maybe even top half Championship team, somewhere around this kind of echelon between like kind of a West Brom to around about like a Norwich, who've just sat right in the middle of the table to top half. I do think that Birmingham team, if it was that team this season, I think that's where they'd be finishing in the Championship, because that team shouldn't have got relegated from the Championship in the first place, and then you've added to it and you've brought in some really good players and some quality players that have room to grow as well, some potential to grow as well, with Birmingham getting promoted as well this season. So I have no doubts they'll be doing absolutely fine next season. Let me know, Birmingham fans, how do you think you'll get on this season? Drop me a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, it'd be very greatly appreciated. It takes 1 second. If you watch this point, please do hit subscribe, it'd be very greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.